my name's Jenny, and I've been recently doing TikTok, doing a daily awesome fact thing, like weird facts and that. And I've realised people have been like, what's wrong with your voice and that? Why do you like really weak voice and that? So I just thought I'd explain quickly why my voice is weird and why I have difficulty remembering, and even with the script I can't read. I can't read off a script without stuttering. I'm better without a script because, I don't know, maybe you use a different part of your brain to read aloud. So go back to November 2007. I found out I was pregnant. I was 24. I was made up, absolutely over the moon. I was told I couldn't have a baby. So I thought, I'm at university. I'm getting a house. It was all sorted. The baby was going to go to a crash. The dad, we were engaged. Everything was going fine. And then I got a water infection in the March, and I went into hospital, and I got on me checkup, and I got issued antibiotics. And literally, when I say everything went downhill, then it did. Everything went downhill. I was allergic to the antibiotics and ended up with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which turned into TENS, which is basically skin necrosis. It's terrible. Anyway, and from that I ended up with an abscess, and this is all when I've got a baby in my tummy. Anyway, I'm 23 weeks pregnant, and I go to the toilet. I'm sick all night. I'm throwing up tea leaves, but I'm not like in labour or anything. I'm just really, really sick. And I go to the toilet at about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I have this feeling that I need to push. And I'm terrified. I'm 23 weeks pregnant. Anyway, so I screamed down. My mum's just got in from a meeting. I was so sick with the Stevens-Johnsons. I'd come back to live with my mum, and anyway, she phoned an ambulance, and because of the Stevens-Johnsons, I'd been in the hospital the night before with a midwife who told me to stop wasting the time. They had very sick women there, so I was terrified that I was going to see this midwife again. Long story short, I get to the hospital, and she has a look, and she goes, you're not in labour, I'll get your discharge notes. And I go, what the F is this then? And the baby literally falls out to me. And she goes, oh shit, and slams the emergency button. The next thing, there's doctors everywhere, and I'm just left in a room on my own. Anyway, I get a shower, I'm standing there, I'm walking around the hospital for 4 hours, and my mum goes to inquire, what do we do about the baby's body? And they go to us, what do you mean? He's in ICU. He's still alive, which is just in itself a miracle. I mean, he was tiny. Anyway, so he was born 1/2, 29th of May. He was due in 22nd of September, and he was when I went in, I got him christened on the 30th of May. I didn't think he was going to make it. I got him christened. Even the vicar said it's the tiniest little baby I've ever seen. Anyway, he was absolutely beautiful. He had no eyebrows. He had no nipples. You could see his heart beating through his body. He was just still like unformed. It was just the weirdest sight. He was so beautiful. No, he's got severe autism now and a learning, not difficulty, well, yeah, a learning difficulty, but not a mild one. He's brilliant on the computer. He's a beautiful child. He's 12 and he's absolutely... Anyway, so I'm going to see him in the hospital, and I couldn't touch him for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I've got water dripping out of my legs. Don't know what it is, and the doctors are binding my legs trying to get rid of this water and that. And I go, my mum insists that I go and see a dermatologist, and I do. And he looks at my mum and goes, your daughter is dying. They are her kidneys dripping through her legs. The build up from her kidneys. She's got nephrotic syndrome. So I end up going into hospital, and my kidneys are just everything's shutting down. And they find an abscess, a massive abscess. And we're now talking June, so I've been so sick since March. I've got a baby boy. My mum's got no family, me and my brother, that's it. And my brother happened to be in hospital, like, across the city, in another hospital, Broad Green. And I was in the Royal. I was in the Royal, and the baby was in the Women's. So my mum is running from 3 hospitals. My auntie, who's an old woman, is running from 3 hospitals. Anyway, yeah, I have the abscess removed, and it's so bad they've got to go in. It's all, the whole my stomach cavity is filled. I mean, they had to use masks. The smell was so bad. They sorted all that out. 2 operations in intensive care. I've got bipolar, just to like to put it out there. And I come out of my 2nd operation, and I start getting angry, and I mean angry. I'm telling the doctor to go F himself, go and shove his D up his A, all this. And it's just, anyway, he phones my mum and goes, you got to come and sort your daughter out. And we've had to tie her down because she's pulling wires out of her throat and everything. I had a wire going into my heart through me artery or my vein or whatever, and I was pulling that. They tied me up. They physically tied me down with like these rubber boxing gloves under the edge of the bed. And my mum said, my daughter's not like that. She might be bipolar, but she's the most, like, I don't remember the word, but I'm really easygoing. When I get manic, I just buy lots of stuff, and I get all these ideas about how my life is going to be great, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, all this. And when I'm down, it's like I don't want to get up, I don't want to eat, I don't want to get washed, I don't want to leave the house. So it's more like that. It's not about I get aggressive and I'm always polite. Always, I've been brought up to, be polite. Anyway, so I'm shouting at the doctor to go F himself and all this. And my mum gets into the car and she drives to the hospital. And by the time she gets in there, I'm gone. And I mean gone. Anyway, they put me in a medically induced coma after because they think it's just my body reaction, a reaction from this major surgery. Anyway, but before they did all this, when they were tying me down and putting CPAP on me, a big bubble on my head and all this so I could breathe, he was convinced that my bipolar was making me have a strop, and this was me having a strop. Seriously, he's meant to be the head of the ICU. Anyway, so my mum goes, what have you done to my daughter? And I'd basically got a massive brain injury, and gone into lockdown. Not lockdown, locked in. I'm thinking of Corona. Locked in. Anyway, and I'm locked in now, and I'm locked in for a few months. And even though it's only a few months and people are locked in for years, I've got to tell you, when the French called it buried alive syndrome, I understand why. It's the most horrendous thing that could happen to you. You're completely aware in your head. You just can't move, you can't talk, all you can do is blink. And the hospital I was in, they hadn't seen anything like this. So, locked in, I can't move. Things are happening, and no one's talking to me because they think I'm not compos mentis. They're thinking I'm not there to talk to, but I can hear them. I can hear them talking about brain injury and all this, and I'm not. No one's talking to actually me. Anyway, gradually I start getting, oh my god, the nightmares. I mean, I know I'm going back and forth. It's just I remember things. When I was in like the coma, and you've got a brain injury, you have weird nightmares. I was like Harry Potter, and I was doing this spell and going from one door to another, but both rooms I was going into were locked, and I couldn't escape. And then the worst one is I watched The Exorcist when I was about 8, because I've always loved horror films. I was a fan of The Shining from 3, but when I was 8 I got a bootleg copy of The Exorcist and I watched it. And anyway, but The Exorcist, Regan, she never bothered me, but Samara from The Ring did. So I'm in my dreams, my wacky dreams, I've got Samara and Regan as my nurses, and I've got Samara coming towards me with the hair down, and she's sliding across, really come across slowly towards me bed to help me. I've got Regan with a friggin' head spinning. It was terrifying. Anyway, so yeah. No, as I say, I had the speech department coming to see me, and they gave me a speech board, something, because I'd got, by this time, it's a few months have passed, and I can move slightly in my hand, so I could point at things how I was feeling, or, anyway, and they hadn't told me mum that I had a speech board, so they put in the file at the bottom of my bed, so doctors could use it and that, and I had just got a bit of, I could do one syllable things, and I'm going to mum, fi, and my mum is looking around, and I'm pointing down to the bottom of the bed, fi, and she doesn't know, so she gets a nail file out of her bag and files my toenails. Well, that put me into a massive depression, because I realised I can't tell my mum that there's a speech board at the bottom, and nobody's being bothered to tell her that. Anyway, so, and on top of that, there was also, because I'd had a baby, they'd put a catheter in when I went into a coma, but they put a catheter in for like the size for a woman who's had 500 babies and was like, I'm 25, and they'd put it in for an older woman, and they'd put it in, and it was a really, really short catheter tube, and it was pulling me whole insides out, and I couldn't move, and I couldn't tell anyone that was in. I felt like my insides were getting ripped out by this catheter, and every time when I started being able to move, I was trying to grab the catheter tube to pull it up to get a bit of like Anyway, and the nurse used to slap me hand, and not slap me hand like abusing me. I mean, like she thought I was going to damage myself with pulling the catheter, which I wasn't. And I shouldn't say slap. I mean, like, no, just push my hand away from the wire. And when I got to the rehab centre where they taught me how to walk and talk again, they changed the catheter over, and they could not believe that they'd fitted this massive catheter. And he knew, just the nurse went, she actually said, this is cruelest. And I don't mean she meant the doctors had been cruel, just the pain I'd been in for months. I mean, it'd been flushed and all that, but the same size, it'd been changed, but the same size was used all the time. Anyway, welcome to 10 years of unbroken water infection because of that. I had an operation 2 years ago on my tummy, and since then, I don't know what happened, but it wasn't to do with a water infection, but it went. So I don't know what happened. It's weird in itself. So I'll go to Walton Neuro in Liverpool, or on the outside of Liverpool, and they were the best centre ever. I had an hour of physio a day, an hour of OT where you learn life, how to cook, stand up, all that, and an hour of speech therapy. When I come out of, when I started talking, I couldn't control my volume, and I mean, I shouted every word, and I mean, the whole ward could hear me just drink, but really, and it wasn't that ding, but really loud. I couldn't control my volume, and I couldn't control me can't remember the word. I'll remember the word in a minute. Yeah. So they got me walking and talking, and my baby, he come to see me in the October, and I held him for the first time since the April, May, June. I'd held him 2 weeks after he was born, and then everything went wrong. So it's the second time I held him, and it was in one. But the only problem is I was in so much pain holding him, and he was only about 4 pounds, 5 pounds at this time. I couldn't hold him for that long, and I felt, really like I was shitty mum. I hadn't even been there in as dark as that was. All the blood in, all the times he had to have needles and his blood infusions and all that, and it'd take hours, just a spoonful, just a teaspoon full of, and I wasn't there. My mum had hold him and put him down his top and that, and anyway, so, and that's basically it. So now it's 12 years on, I'm still on. I've got pain syndrome, so my skin's always on fire from the Stephen Johnsons and that. And I'm on a lot of morphine a day just to get up. I haven't gone to bed in 10 years, 12 years in fact. I'm on the couch right now, and that's where I sleep. I sleep sitting up on the couch with this around my neck. And I've done that for 10 years, 12 years. I don't know why I keep saying 10 years. Yeah. The morphine that I'm on, slow release and normal, Oxycontin things. And it's just, And then this lockdown happened, and I literally haven't left the house since March last year. Because I'm a extremely vulnerable person. And what's that? I'm still trying to think of that word. Can't control my intonation. So sometimes I'm talking to my mum and I get frustrated because I can't get my words out, and she thinks I'm shouting at her or I'm angry, and I'll go, I can't control my intonation at times, especially if I'm trying to get a lot of information out, and it ends up with a lot of me mum thinking I'm being a complete bitch when I'm not. But you know, things like that happen anyway. It's 20 minutes of just saying thanks for watching.